This is the 2012 Ford Focus SE. Now this is of course the sedan version because the Focus is available both as a sedan and as a hatchback in the United States. So let's hop in, let's hop under the hood, and of course let's see if I fit in the trunk. We do expect a performance engine at some point in the Focus's life, but for now, this is the only engine on offer. It's Ford's all-new, all-aluminum 2-liter direct injection 4-cylinder engine. It produces 160 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. It's mated to either your choice of a 5-speed manual or a 6-speed power-shift automatic gearbox. That power-shift automatic gearbox is a dual-clutch affair, so it's more like Volkswagen's DSG. It's here on the inside that the Ford Focus gets a little bit more interesting than your typical small car in America, and that's because the interior quality here is very high. We have a nice soft touch dash here. We have a very nice infotainment button setup. It is a little busy. There are kind of a lot of buttons there. We'll go over that in a bit. But everything is very nicely done. And well, the fit and finish is very good for an American car. Ford has done a little bit more than that. There are still some seams that are a little peculiar, like here in the dashboard, this speaker grille isn't quite right. But that's to be expected in a mass market car, to be honest. There's always going to be something a little bit wrong. But what Ford's done is they've hidden these things very well. So if you look at these door seams, they've deliberately designed the door panels so that the gaps are not obvious. So panels overlap one another rather than butting right up against one another, making those seams a lot less visible inside the Ford Focus. Everything that you touch in here is very good. So all the touch points are excellent. The base model Focus and the base model SE, however, don't get the leather-wrapped steering wheel that this model gets or the leather shifter. That's available as an option. On our sticker here, you can see this costs $1,130, and that gets you the leather-wrapped steering wheel, leather-wrapped knob, the silly rear spoiler, and that's pretty much it. Rear seat comfort is pretty average in this segment. We get the folding rear seat, but in the SE, in our particular SE model, this is not a 60/40 folding seat. It is a single folding rear seat. So you have to choose whether you want some extra cargo or 3 or 4 passengers. So that would be just limited to the front too. I'm 6 feet tall. This front seat, driver's seat, is adjusted for me. As you can see, I have some legroom left back here. It's not a whole lot of legroom, but again, this isn't a very big car. This seat is fairly firmly upholstered, might be a little bit tiring on a long car trip, and the seat cushion is a little bit lower to the floor, but this car does start at $17,000, so I wouldn't really expect any more. Now the up-level Focuses, now they have a similar problem, but they have a much larger price tag, so you might want to spend some time in the rear seat before you plunk down $27,000 or so for a Focus Titanium. Any American will tell you they value a large trunk, and the Ford Focus delivers a fairly good-sized one. This is again the largest size roller bag you can carry on a domestic flight. So you can see you can fit a decent number of those here in the trunk. The odd thing, of course, about the Focus is because it has this sort of course, these trunk hinges impede on your cargo area. Let me not forget that. But because it has this very short trunk lid and this very sloped, almost hatchback-like form, it means that you're left with more of a trunk slot than a true trunk lid. So depending on the shape of your item, it could be difficult to get it in and out of there. But that, of course, means it's time to see how well a journalist fits in the trunk. Let's see how this goes. Oh yeah, there's quite a surprising amount of room in here, actually. You could get lost. I'd give this a solid 7 out of 10. Let's take a look at the infotainment systems on the Focus. This is something that Ford has really done a very good job of lately, to be honest, in these lower cost vehicles. And that's thanks to Microsoft Sync. What we have here is a USB port that's here in our center console. And as you can see, I have my iPod Nano connected to it. My iPod, my iPad, all variety of USB devices work extremely well with this system. And over here in the center console, we get this sort of million button array. We have direct access buttons for CD, radio, Sirius, auxiliary, and auxiliary includes that USB and iPhone interface, as well as the phone here. On the right side, we have a keypad for direct access to Sirius and AM/FM radio stations, as well as assisting in the navigation of your phone and other items. Now, this screen up here is a fairly decent resolution screen, and it's flanked by another one over here in the gauge cluster. The one in the gauge cluster is controlled by this keypad over here on the steering wheel, and this one is controlled by either your choice of this button arrangement here or this button on the steering wheel. In addition to that, on the steering wheel, if you can see here in the video, we do get a voice command button here. We get our track up and down, fast forward, phone buttons over here, and our cruise control buttons are over here on the left. But that's not what's interesting about Sync. What's interesting about Sync is the voice command option, which works very well compared to a wide variety of different voice commandable systems. Sync really is superior. So that makes this screen up here, which is fairly decent and fairly easy to use, a bit redundant, and we'll demonstrate here. So now that we have the system on and I have my iPod connected here, as I said, we're listening to Sirius satellite radio. And again, the voice command button's here on the steering wheel, so we can command it away.
Sync, please say a command.
USB. As you can see, the system has now changed to my iPod here. You can say it's playing Brown Chicken, Brown Cow. Now, if we like this song, we can tell Sync to play similar music. So we do that by hitting the button again.
USB, please say a command.
Play similar music.
Similar music.
There we go. Now, what it decides as similar music is pretty random, and I have no idea why it's now playing the Beatles after immediately playing Madonna. Go figure. You can also voice command particular tracks, particular playlists, genres, artists, etc. with the system. The phone integration works very well. You can voice command people from your phone book. The voice commands are fairly natural, and the system understands you fairly well. The microphone is up here in the center console, and the speakerphone voice quality with your phone is very good. It's actually among the best. I've tried a wide variety of different systems. Again, I'm in a different one of these almost every week. And this system is probably among the best, which is very good, of course, for a first-time car buyer or a young car buyer, someone that's interested in technology. This is, of course, the base Sync system. If we go back to our Monroney here, I don't know if you can see that in the video. Let's see if we can get it a little closer. You can see that this is part of the rapid spec system on this car, which is $1,300. It also includes cruise control, the alarm, and Sirius satellite radio. Now, if you pop up to the more expensive trims of the Ford Focus, then you're greeted with the large 8-inch My Ford Touch system, which is vilified for being quite slow. I'll pop a link to the Ford Flex video somewhere along here, and you can see how that system works. It's essentially the same in the Ford Flex as in the Ford Focus. Out on the road, there are a few things that surprise you when you get behind the wheel. First up, we have a fairly firm suspension. If you're looking for a soft ride in your small car, then you should look at a Buick or Chrysler or something along those lines. But if you're looking at something that's perhaps midway between your average sedan in this category and a Volkswagen GLI, then the Ford Focus is your vehicle. That really pays dividends in the handling department because this baby sticks to the road like glue. The only unfortunate thing that comes with that, though, and comes with most modern cars, is this electric power steering. It is numb and vague, and it's a little bit difficult to tell what exactly the front wheels are doing because, of course, it's front-wheel drive, so they're not only powered, but, of course, now we have this numb electric power steering system associated with it as well. Unlike many cars, however, that have numb steering, there is a side benefit available in the Focus. If you choose the correct option package and the correct trim line in your Focus, then you can get the self-parallel parking option, which will literally park itself. All you do is you pull up, and the car will tell you whether or not it thinks you will fit in a spot to either your right or your left. And you just follow the instructions on the screen, put the car in reverse, and let the car do all the steering for you. That's really one of the only benefits to the electric power steering systems, other than a very minor improvement in fuel economy. That is the other thing about this Ford Focus, however, is its fuel economy. We've been averaging 33 miles per gallon, and that's on my daily commute, which involves roads like I'm driving on right now, which is a narrow mountain highway, plenty of shifting, plenty of ups and downs, and of course, some high-speed travel on Interstate 280 as well. One of our Facebook readers asked if the Ford Focus was a good first car, and the answer is yes. As far as first cars go, it seems a little bit expensive to my sensibilities to pay $17,000 to probably $22,000 or so for a first car, but our SE model as equipped here is just over $21,000. And if I was looking for a first car either for myself or, God forbid, if I had a 16-year-old child that was looking to drive their first car, this would be a very good choice for me. The Focus gets very good safety ratings overall. The manual transmission is kind of fun, and I think for my first car I'd want to at least start out with a manual. It has all the features that I would demand, with the exception of a power driver's seat. You know, we have Forward Sync, we have AM/FM CD, we have USB iPod interface, we have Sirius satellite radio, we have two large, you know, and large is a relative term, mind you, but two large LCD screens in the dash here, one in the gauge cluster and one, of course, in the radio that we'll go over in just a bit. And so it fulfills my tech desires as well as my desire to have a decent handling sedan. It is fairly fun. You can fit 5 people in here fairly easily to go to lunch. I wouldn't pick fairly large people, of course. I mean, this is still a small sedan, but it is possible to jam some coworkers in the rear. The trunk is pretty big, and Ford dealers are easy to find, so parts should be relatively easy to find as the car ages and fairly inexpensive. Reliability, it's a little bit too early to tell, but with Ford's recent reputation, we shouldn't expect this to be too much worse than Honda or Toyota's wares.